On today's show, 14 games in the NBA tonight. Are the Clippers good? I think the Clippers are good. And are we worried about Steph Curry? I kind of am. On today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
And welcome. You are Locked On NBA Game Night. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being in every day or making Locked On NBA your first listen today. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me on game night, a staple now. We're just throwing him on every other night. What you got for me, Jake Madison?
Look, who wants to spend time with your friends and family during the holidays when you can spend it with other Locked On hosts recapping every game in under 30 minutes? Because that's what we do here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night.
That's correct. And I'll be back on Wednesday on Christmas Day with Jackson. That's how much we care about our families. 14 games, tons of stuff to get into. We got to get into it right away. Let's start with the Clippers getting a win against the Memphis Grizzlies. And our boy Darian Vaziri of the Locked On Clippers podcast goes very far with his praise of this win for the Clippers.
Darian Vaziri for Locked On Clippers telling you that the Clippers just got their best win of the season, in my opinion. Yes. We haven't beaten the Grizzlies, the Rockets, or the Thunder, who are the three best teams in the West right now, record-wise. But tonight was different. And how do we do it? With our defense. So many steals tonight. Chris Dunn, Nico Batum, handing the passing lanes, shooting the gap. And also, to end the game, it was a really neck-and-neck game. We had a huge run in the third quarter where we kind of lit it up offensively. Derrick Jones Jr. doing a great job attacking closeouts, getting out on the break, even though he was still on a little bit of a minutes restriction. But Ivica Zubac, 20-20, led the way for us. His second 20-20 game of his career was an absolute beast down low on the offensive glass. And James Harden closing out the game super well like a star would, started getting double-teamed. And we were able to find Zubac for that big dunk. Norman Powell eventually ends up hitting the go-ahead jumper and free throws for the best one of the season. Clippers 17-13 through 30.
Oh, the energy of a Darian Vaziri. Gotta love it. Clippers win this game. The biggest lead with either team was Memphis. Had a 10-point lead early in the third quarter. The Clippers get this win. The numbers stand out to me. Clippers beat the Grizzlies 64-42 in the paint. Locked On Grizzlies host Joe Molinax pointed that out. That's a stat that normally the Grizzlies win, but that was a massive one for the Clippers. Zubac's 2020 game, and I don't know, this team is looking like a contender to me if Kawhi comes back and he's all ready, Jake.
Look, when you get Norm Powell playing like he has all season long, really stepping up in the absence of Paul George leaving, Kawhi Leonard not being there, 29 points from him on the night, 4 of 8 from 3, which I also think is big. He's jumped up his scoring average. He's at 23.5 points per game, which is by far a career high for him. It's a massive leap for a guy when you have a well-coached team like Ty Lue as well. They're just kind of filling their roles, playing good basketball. By the way, I hate to spoil the party. Zubac only had 19 rebounds.
Oh no! Did they take
I think
one
they
away?
took one away from him. I think they took one away.
Not fun. Give him the Stockton rebound. Like just give him the rebound. 20. He's only had one 2020 game. The one just still stands alone. But when Kawhi comes back, this team has been this like juggernaut defensive team, really good defensive, and just got enough offense between James Harden and Norman Powell is actually leading them in scoring on average. I don't think a lot of people would know that if you just ask people, like even Clippers fans on the street, who's leading them in scoring. But he's been awesome. And if they could just get a guy like Kawhi back, and if he could be a closer for them on offense, even if he can just be that, and they keep their defense at the same level, this team with the wide open West is looking really, really good. And they're way better than I thought they were. They're 17-13 now.
Yeah, I was actually really down on them coming into the season. I thought losing
same.
Paul George and just not getting any replacement was really going to hurt them. Then with the Kawhi Leonard injury, it's kind of a miracle what they've done so far. I do wonder, given that their offense has struggled this year, if they'll kind of hit a bit of a wall at a certain point. You still got to outscore teams, particularly in the West. They've struggled with that at times, but you're seeing kind of James Harden in kind of that former form that we've seen from him. I'm not going to say this team's a title contender just yet. Look, I got to see Kawhi Leonard play more than 2 games in the postseason before we're going to say that, because that's what's going to matter most for them. But look, they are good. That one.
Yeah. How about we see him play more than 2 games in a row, like it all at this point?
Yeah, let's start there.
We've seen this Orlando Magic team play some really good games in a row, and they apparently don't need any players to play and to win these games. Let's hear from our guy Philip Rossman-Reich of Locked On Magic with the Magic's win over the Boston Celtics.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic here at the Kia Center, where the Orlando Magic have somehow, some way, defeated the Boston Celtics 108-104. If you're trying to figure out how the Magic did this, especially after the way they won on Saturday against the Miami Heat, you are not alone. The Magic are down their 3 of their top 4 scorers, with Jalen Suggs coming back tonight, and yet they still found a way to not only beat the vaunted offense of the Celtics, they found a way to stop them. The Celtics have taken at least 41 threes in every game this season. They took only 31 or 32 this game. Magic actually made more threes than the Celtics in this game. Somehow, some way, this team just finds a way, and there is a pure belief in this group. There is a pure belief in their ability to win and their ability to play for each other, whether it's Jalen Suggs stepping up, whether it's Tristan da Silva hitting a big 3 to give the Magic a 4-point lead from the spot that I'm standing in right now, or whether it's Trevelin Queen coming out of the G League to make a play and give them huge minutes. The Orlando Magic are finding ways to win. Their defense remains stellar, even with all the pieces that they're missing, and this is a tough team to play. This is a team you don't want to play against. They're a team that gets under your skin. This is a team that plays Magic basketball, and that's good enough on a lot of nights like it was tonight against the Celtics.
Incredible win for them. Like he said, the Celtics, the lowest amount of threes they've taken this season is 41. Most of their games, 26 out of 28, they've taken 45 threes. They only took 33 in this game, and the Celtics were up by 15 at half. John Corrales on his postgame said that they maybe played lackadaisical, thought they could just coast through the rest of the second half. You cannot coast against the Orlando Magic. Their defense will not let you.
No, look, they have an identity, and they're a well-coached team. Jamal Mosley should be in the running for Coach of the Year. I don't think he's going to win it, but he should be getting a lot of votes here, right? Like, they're a defensive team that, as Phil said, they get under your skin, and they're going to make you play exceptionally hard. Look, no Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics in this one, so that's a bit of a factor here. But look, who the heck played for the Orlando Magic, right? Like I don't think we can really use that as an excuse for Boston. Just the Magic have an identity, and for a young team like that, that's a really important thing. You kind of know who you are. You can build off of that. With the injuries, we thought this was going to be more of a down year, and in fact, you're just getting good experience for some of their bench players. They're going to be a scary team at the end of the season, I think.
Boston had 102 offensive rating in this game, where the Magic started Goga Batazzi, Trevelin Queen, Tristan da Silva, KCP, and Jalen Suggs. It's like
Batazzi, who got thrown out of the game. We'll talk ejections a little bit later.
He didn't
but
know.
He was gone. Yeah, he had no clue.
There's a clip that's hilarious where Batazzi is standing on the bench, and he's thinking that Kristaps Porzingis, because they got double text. He thinks that he just got ejected, and so he's waving bye-bye. He's all happy, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Wait, me? I'm the one that got ejected!" And then he gets all dejected, and then he walks out. Hilarious. But Orlando, massive third quarter, 36-21 in that third quarter. They basically just dominated and found a way to stop Boston's offense. So that defense is for real, and it doesn't matter who's playing. Apparently, Jonathan Isaac played 13 minutes, and he's supposed to be like their defensive anchor. It's like, who needs to play? I don't know. For the Pacers, they get their 5th win in a row against the Golden State Warriors. Let's hear from Tony East, Locked On Pacers.
The last game before Christmas, and it's a win for the Indiana Pacers. Their 5th in a row. Can you believe it? I can't. They were 9-14 not long ago after back-to-back losses to Toronto and Brooklyn. What a recovery from this team who just went on the road and got 3 great wins in a row over Phoenix, Sacramento, and Golden State. The story in all of them, and again tonight for the Pacers. Defense, 105 for the Warriors. Steph Curry never got going. The only lineups that worked for the Warriors were because of their size. The Pacers have found a way to defend better. Their starters have looked great together this whole time. Tyrese Haliburton has found some footing and efficiency. Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner have been a terrorizing duo again. Suddenly, this team looks like the team that everybody thought they could be if they reached their peak. Unfortunately, they had a terrible start, but looking good again are the Pacers, who are back in the mix in the East and are back to looking like a threatening team. We'll have much more on Locked On Pacers about this Warriors-Pacers fun one.
That's the Pacers side of it. On the Warriors side of it, I'm looking at Steph Curry, Jake. He had 10 points in this game, 2 of 13 from the field. He had 2 points in a loss to Memphis on Thursday, just 19 points in a loss to Houston last Wednesday. 8 games this season, he's been under 20 points. Only 4 games over 30 points. Are we worried about Steph Curry?
Yeah, we definitely should be. I covered that game here on Locked On NBA Game Night last week, where he had 2 points. He didn't make a field goal that game. They were all free throws, right? Like, that's a pretty big concern. This one, he didn't make his first field goal until the third quarter. Now, look, you got to give the Pacers a lot of credit. They were doubling him basically every time and trying to dare anyone else on the Golden State Warriors to beat him. So the defensive game plan was sound. But look, if they want to kind of elongate the window that they have, they got to make some sort of big trade, whether it's Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram. They need another dude who can just go and score and be a threat. Because if you can double Steph Curry all game and the Golden State Warriors don't burn you somewhere else, that's a pretty big concern to me.
They thought Schroeder was going to do that. He started again. He was a minus 22 in the minutes that he played, only 3 of 9. They thought he was going to be that extra offense, and he just hasn't. They keep trying these different guys to be the extra offense and to be the release valve there, but it just hasn't worked for them. And the Warriors lose again. That team, they keep falling in the standings. Coming up, a team that was falling in the standings, the Sixers. They lose most of their centers to ejections. They get one of them back. Let's talk about that game, how the refs affected that game, and more. We'll talk about it coming up. Count it up. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Game Night. We have a Locked On NBA show, or Locked On show that covers every single team, whichever one you want. Locked On Pelicans, that's Jake. Locked On Mavs, that's me. We've got all the different voices you've heard. Daily show for all those teams, a newsletter to go along with it. Check out the description wherever you're listening, watching this to find all those shows. All right, Jake, getting back 14 games. The Sixers, they get a win, an improbable win, even with Joel Embiid and Maxey and Paul George all playing, which is a rare sight. But let's hear from Kayla Santiago of Locked On Sixers on this one.
To hold a press conference because the Philadelphia 76ers won a game when all the odds were against them. I don't know what the air is in Philadelphia right now, or if everybody's getting too excited for the holiday season, but yesterday it was CJ Gardner-Johnson for the Philadelphia Eagles, and today, literally a day later, Joel Embiid gets ejected on the Philadelphia 76ers, and then you look at it and you say, okay, well, here go the 76ers. Andre Drummond gets ruled out with an injury, KJ Martin as well, but they still come out on top 111-106, and it was Tyrese Maxey's big day. 32 points, 10 rebounds on the evening, and Paul George not too far behind, 19 points and 9 rebounds to add as well. The best part of the night and the highlight was after the victory when Joel Embiid came out of the locker room and said, I don't care about the ejection. I got to congratulate Tyrese Maxey because he is the big reason, and maybe the only reason the Philadelphia 76ers won the game. It was a big victory, and now they go and play the Celtics on Christmas Day.
I'll never believe Joel Embiid when he says I don't care about like a certain stat or something like that.
Probably anything,
MVP,
right?
Yeah, right. The story of this game, though, Kayla kind of mentioned it there. Embiid gets ejected in the second quarter, 3 minutes left, for a Wemby flop, Embiid flop combo. They kind of flopped each other. Like Embiid was driving. They just ran into each other. But before that, 8:30 left in the second quarter. Andre Drummond gets 2 techs in a row on Wemby flops, like absolute Wemby flops. Or Victor Wembanyama totally sold those. Drummond barely pushed him, and it was both on inbounds plays where he falls down, gets 2 techs in a row, goes right at the ref, was frustrated by it, and then he goes out, and then they review it, and they bring Drummond back in. So Drummond goes all the way through the tunnel, takes off his jersey, and then they play the video in the arena of him coming back like he was coming back like a wrestler, putting the jersey back on.
got like a standing ovation from the crowd in Philly when he came back, just coming in triumphant, and then gets injured and doesn't play anymore. So it was a little anticlimactic there. Like after all of that, he still gets hurt. And look, we're not rooting for injuries. We're not happy about injuries, obviously. It's just kind of funny that after all of that, he gets injured and doesn't play anymore.
And then the referee that called the techs on all those guys came over to Nick Nurse during the game at one point and said, "I effed up." Like literally just came over and said that the amount that refs influence the game, I think all the ratings talk we've had recently, I mean, I think this is one of the things people are just sick of.
Yeah, look, you see them get a little too touchy after like a bad call and then players complaining. And I think they've got to be able to kind of vent some of the frustrations with that and let their coaches know that they should challenge. I can give you all a soundbite here. Actually, we used it in like one of those stinger reels we did to promote Locked On, where there's like a clip of me being like, the NBA has an officiating problem. And this was a couple of years ago. It's like right there in the promo for like the hot take. I don't think it's that hot of a take anymore. Clearly nothing's changed.
I was going to say, every night it feels like we get one of these games like this, and happen to be the Sixers. But the Sixers pulled out the win, so good for them without Joel Embiid in the second half and all that. Shout out to Maxey and Paul George.
Wemby, 26, 8 blocks after a 10-block game the other night. That dude is special. 6 of 13 from 3, which is just silly.
Despite the loss. That's my favorite thing about us. That's my favorite thing right now is, despite the loss, this crazy stat line. Despite their loss, the Phoenix Suns are going to keep going, and they're going to need to make some kind of a move. They lose 90 to 117. The Nuggets get a win, a good win for them. Jokic 32 points. But on the Suns side of this, you get 23 points from Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. They played 31 and 34 minutes respectively. Nobody else in double figures on the Sixers. Booker didn't play. Is this the last big three max contract player teams that we're going to see? I think it is.
Yeah, it has to be, right? Like, one, with the new CBA rules, the dreaded second April, like, it doesn't work, right? And then you look at their lack of depth and how that's hurting them. It was Beal, it was Durant, and you were going to need like a 60-point game from Durant to win this game. And at his age, that's a little bit too much to ask for him here. Look, they run into spells. Well, one, their defense blows. Like, their defense is terrible and is going to continue to be bad, and there's no fix for that. But also, like, you see too many spells where, like, they turn the ball over too much, and they got in Tyus Jones to really help fix some of that. And then he doesn't act like a true point guard, because that probably wasn't their biggest issue. It was other things, and they thought it would fix it. It didn't. So, yeah, they kind of remain bad.
Yeah, listening to Locked On Suns, those guys just talked about how they just feel like they have different factions of teams. It's like, and especially since their injuries, they were really good with KD at the beginning of the season, and then KD goes out and they lose all those games without KD, basically. And so you have like the Bradley Beal and Booker combo just hasn't worked at all. There's just all kinds of different issues with the Suns. So to me, I think it's the last of the three max contracts on one team. Like, I just don't think you can do it anymore. You can't pull it off. The Hawks are pulling off wins right now. They get a win against the Timberwolves, like really good one for them, bad loss for the Timberwolves. Let's hear from Brad Rowland of Locked On Hawks.
Hello friends, my name is Brad Rowland. I'm the host of Locked On Hawks podcast, and the Hawks pull out a very nice, resilient victory on this Monday evening over the Wolves, 117 to 104. It was a weird game for Atlanta. They shot incredibly well. 50% from 3, 18 threes is not usual for this Hawks team, including a season high 25 points from Garrison Matthews, including 7 threes. That was the biggest factor. The Hawks lost the game actually on the margins. They were not very good in the turnover battle. They were not very good in the glass. And usually that is not good for this Hawks team. But in the end, they shot the ball very well. Trae Young had a couple of daggers in the fourth quarter. Matthews was great. DeAndre Hunter was really good, as he's been for quite some time now. And the Hawks made plays, and they were really resilient with a very, very impressive fourth quarter close. They had blown a big lead early in the game, and they kept it on coming down the stretch to get back to 500 on the season, 15-15 as they go into Christmas. We'll get into all of that and more on What the Hawks podcast.
Brad Rowland sending that in from the club. Dyson Daniels, 8 steals for him in this game. Just an incredible defensive performance. Your former Pelican there. Should Dyson Daniels be getting Defensive Player of the Year love, Jake?
Yeah, he should. We actually did a show, John and I, on our normal Friday slot where we talked about like the odds, and he was getting real good Defensive Player of the Year odds per FanDuel, and that's something people might want to kind of go over there and jump on. I haven't seen what the updated odds are, but that guy, you know what? I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm kind of hurting sad over here as wearing my Nola shirt who traded him away. He's
been great. Just one of the best.
Incredible.
Like, to see a there's levels of perimeter defense, and when you have a team that, like, okay, you have good perimeter defenders, then you see a team where you have an elite perimeter defender, a Herb Jones, a Dyson Daniels, it's Marcus Smart at his peak when he won Defensive Player of the Year, somebody like that. You go, oh, that's different. You see it.
Pressing the point of attack like that, not like a big just erasing mistakes and being a rim protector, but being able to disrupt an offense at the point of attack or shutting down the opponent's best perimeter wing player is a pretty incredible thing and a complete game changer for teams. And Dyson Daniels looks like that right now.
The Portland Trailblazers did not have that at all against the Dallas Mavericks in the game that I was at. The Mavs went 132-108, and Luka Doncic returns after a couple of games off with a heel contusion. He comes back, 27 points, 7 boards, 7 assists in under 30 minutes. Only 4 players have done that this season, and it's like a perfect recipe for the Mavericks in this one. The story, though, is Daniel Gafford, 23 points off the bench. And he just bodies these teams like this. The teams that have 2 centers, they played Ayton, they played Klingon for basically 40 minutes of the game. And he is just stronger than those guys, bigger in some ways. And he is able to score in a bunch of different ways in the post. And that is a different wrinkle to add to the Mavericks offense. And so that was a good win for the Mavericks. They got all their guys back. This is only the 6th game that they've had the starting lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Derek Lively. They've won all 6 of those games. The Detroit Pistons get a win against the Lakers, but they tried to give it up. They're up by 11 with 2:30 left in this game, Jake. Will the Pistons ever hold on to the lead at the end of a game?
They didn't try to in this one. They closed this one out almost by accident. They got lucky that LeBron James completely missed, Anthony Davis missed a rim, like a dunk. He blew the layup, should have tried to dunk it. They called a foul, got overturned on a challenge, so that was really good to see and everything. They then gave LeBron a wide open 3 as time expired, which seems like a real dumb thing to do. They couldn't get a bucket down the stretch. You saw them do early offense when they were trying to kill clock. They're a young team that needs to grow, but good thing Cade Cunningham is a really, really good and special player and should be an all-star this year.
Ooh. Yeah, LeBron not clutch.
Man, they can go to your YouTube page and yell at you over
doing
this
that
sort
show.
of thing.
Hayes and Matt and Doug, they can do that show. This is LeBron not clutch. Coming up, we're going to do our show where we play Count It Up, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA tonight, and we'll go through the rest of these games on Locked On NBA Game Night. Count it up. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. We've been doing FanDuel ads for, I don't know, like 3 years now, 4 years, and this is it. If you've been waiting, the bonus bets don't go up higher than $250. That's the highest I've heard. So this is the time to get in on it right now. We talked about some of the other odds and some of the NBA odds for awards and things like that. If you're looking all the way down in season odds, we talked about Dyson Daniels, Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, he's way down. He's plus 6,000. You can get Dyson Daniels Defensive Player of the Year right there. Put some $5 on that. If you win at the end of the year, good Lord, you're going to be swimming. Check it out on FanDuel, all kinds of stuff. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Big chicken, baby.
Zion Williamson and porn star.
Take that for that.
Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up.
I knew you'd love the Pelicans.
I don't think I'd heard that one before. That was news to me. And oh boy.
We've just been doing that. We do that one for like a year and a half over here with the Zion Williamson. So.
When that all broke out, that was about a year and a half ago. I remember it very clearly and vividly.
The Miami Heat get a win against the Brooklyn Nets. Let's hear from our guy, Wes Goldberg of Locked On Heat on the win.
Goldberg here from Locked On Heat, recording this after Miami beat the Brooklyn Nets 110-95. No Jimmy Butler in this game. They were also without Terry Rozier and Kevin Love. And what was really impressive in this game was Bam Adebayo. Without Jimmy Butler, the Heat needed somebody to replace that star power, to replace that consistent source of offense. And that's what Bam did. Even though he's been struggling to start the year on offense, this might have been his best game of the season on that end. 23 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. And he played kind of like Jimmy in this one. He got started in the first quarter, opening stint, had 5 assists, getting his teammates involved, very Jimmy Butler-like. And then in the third quarter, he scored 9 points to help pull Miami away from the Brooklyn Nets. And then in the fourth quarter, he iced the game with 8 points in the final 6 minutes. Not only Bam, Tyler Hero getting involved with a near triple-double with 17 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. Duncan Robinson gave him 17 points. They got 18 points from Nikola Jovic off the bench. Khalil Ware, 9 points and 7 rebounds. A good performance by the rookie. And the Heat, they get a much-needed win right before Christmas.
A win for the Heat. I thought he was going to start reading the whole box score there. I was going to start going through every player. The Heat get a win there. The Knicks got a win against the Knicks get a win 139 to 125 against the Raptors. The Knicks offense is just insane. 139 points. They've been number one in offense in the NBA for a while. Jake Madison, my question is, the Knicks offense is blank.
Number 2, technically, because that's their ranking in the league right now. I just pulled it up on Cleaning the Glass, but really it does feel like one of the better ones. Think about what's so impressive is who their head coach is, right? It's Tom Thibodeau. Like, this is not an offensive guy, and maybe we shouldn't be totally surprised because of the minutes that he's playing the starters and that you see. And look, a point I didn't get to make earlier about the Memphis Grizzlies is their starters aren't really winning their minutes. You want that to be your best group, like you were talking about with the Mavs. That starting lineup is really, really good in blowing teams out. The Knicks offense better be good when you're playing your starters that many minutes, because otherwise, what are you doing? So I think that inflates it a little bit, but they're still a really, really good team.
Jalen Brunson's favorite player growing up, the reason why he wears number 13 is Steve Nash. The New York Knicks offense is the Steve Nash Suns. That's what I think they are. It's a different style of offense for sure. They're doing different things, but they are now the great offensive team that is not great on defense. And I'm really curious to see how that plays throughout the rest of this season, but they get a win against the Raptors. Cavs get a win against the Utah Jazz. Our boss, David Locke, just having a year of it over there in Utah. Let's hear from Danny Cunningham on Locked On Cavs.
Sam Merrill gave the Cavs a big boost. He was in the starting lineup tonight with Dean Wade out because of some knee soreness. Sam may have broken out of his shooting slump. He'd been shooting 28% from 3 since he returned from his ankle injury earlier this year. Well, he shot 6 of 11 from deep tonight against Utah. Certainly a boost for the Cavs in that starting lineup that they very much needed in this game. They hit 23s as a team. Sam hit 6 of them. Evan Mobley hit a few of them as well, as he had a really good offensive night. Also, once again, had another posterization with his left hand, which is becoming a theme. Not as good as the one he had over Andre Drummond on Saturday night, but a pretty good one tonight against, it was over Walker Kessler on the Utah Jazz. Up next for the Cavs, they head west of the Mississippi for the first time all year. They've got a 4-game West Coast trip. I think it'll be very interesting to see how they fare in games against Denver, Golden State, Los Angeles, and Dallas. It's a big test for the Cavs. We'll see what's next.
One of the best things about doing this job and having all the different hosts covering all the teams all the time is you go listen to the other team's like episode after your team plays them. And like, if I played a team and they're talking about Sam Merrill's offense and Evan Mobley left-handed dunks, like that's the takeaways from that game. Like, how bad did you feel about the Utah Jazz?
Yeah, right. Like we don't need to talk about Donovan Mitchell.
No,
we don't need to talk about some of these other players. It's like, these guys, look at what they did to you, and that's the big story here.
Dunks.
Also, man, that short from Danny, who I love, looks like the start of like a horror movie, because there's just no one around. It's like the influencer, like just doing a video in the haunted house, being like, look at this. All of a sudden, there's a ghost that's going to pop out or something.
I cut off the beginning of it. Sorry, Danny. But they kicked him out because they played a high school basketball game after the Cavs game on the courts. They kicked him out. He had to do it. He had to do it in the hallway. So that's why he could hear like the game. Yeah,
normally we get 94 feet with Danny Cunningham walking down, telling us what's going on.
He's doing 94 feet in the hallway. Oh man, the Bucks get a win, 112 to 91 against the Bulls. The Bucks now, they started 2-8, and now they're all the way back. They're 16-12 now on a scale of 0 to 5. How back are the Bucks, Jake Madison?
I'm going to say it's a 4. I'm not ready to go full 5, but I think they're pretty back. Giannis is playing better. Look, they seem to have some level of harmony that they didn't before. You know it's going well. With everybody. Everybody's praising Doc Rivers here.
I'm at a 3. I'm not there yet. And I might even be a 2. 9 of their 14 wins are against these teams. You ready? The Bulls twice now. The Wizards twice. The Pistons twice. The Nets, the Hornets, and the Raptors. 9 of their 14 wins in this streak right here are against the bottom of the East. Like, they're stacking up wins where they're supposed to, but I'm not fully back on them yet.
But I don't know. Bulls beat the Celtics. The Wizards have beaten the Nuggets this year. Powerhouse teams out there in the Eastern Conference with like one of their like 4 or 5 wins that they each have.
I can say bad things about the Bucks since Camille isn't here this week, but I'm not fully convinced on them. The Thunder I am fully convinced on. They're a very good team. Let's hear from Rylan Stiles about their win over the Wizards tonight.
The Oklahoma City Thunder get a win over the Washington Wizards. It was an ugly game to start with. The Thunder really struggled defensively. They were not locked in or engaged at all. But in the fourth quarter, they not only pulled the clamps down on Washington, but they still covered the lofty 7.5-point spread from our good friends over at FanDuel. And it was thanks to SGA's 42 points. He had 2 points at the end of the first quarter, by far his lowest scoring first quarter. And yet he still goes for 42 in the very end, including some highlight reel and ones. Jalen Williams had a couple and ones as well in this game. Alex Caruso did leave with an injury after some impressive hustle plays. We'll see how that shakes out in the fold. But the Thunder had a great showing of resilience to be able to get this win. And while it did not look pretty for most of the night, a win is still a win, even against the Washington Wizards.
If you're listening, you're missing. Rylan recorded this video from like inside an igloo. Like it's so dark. It's like they shoved him in a closet at the Chesapeake Bay Arena. Like,
does he not have a Christmas tree to have in the background like everybody else does in today's show?
Like, he had to do it outside.
I didn't even realize the video loaded. I thought something broke here and that the video didn't load.
No, I presented it without comment because I thought it was really funny. Also presented without comment. He needs no introduction. Locked on Rockets host Jackson Gatlin with their win tonight over the Charlotte Hornets.
Rockets taking care of business on the second night of a back-to-back against the Charlotte Hornets, 114-101. What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked on Rockets. And look, if you looked at just the final score, you'd think this game was a little bit closer than it actually was. Spoiler, it wasn't. The Hornets never led in this game. The Rockets led by as many as 34. They had the Hornets doubled up at halftime, 62 to just 31. The Rockets defense was suffocating. The Hornets shot making was less than stellar in this one. Houston had 5 different players scoring in double figures, but the story of the game for the Rockets, Cam Whitmore making the most of his opportunities these past couple games. No Tari Eason for the Houston Rockets, no Dylan Brooks in this one either, and Cam Whitmore getting the nod from head coach Ime Udoka. He had 17 points on 7 of 15 shooting off the bench, was electric in this game. Some high-level shot making, got downhill, had a highlight level dunk in transition. And Cam is a guy who had a stellar rookie season, but was phased out of the Rockets rotation really early on this season, spent some time at the G League, and now making the most of these opportunities that he's been given. And for a team that has struggled as much offensively as the Rockets have this year, Cam Whitmore might be the answer that they're looking for as kind of a microwave turbo scoring option coming off the Rockets bench.
Rockets win again, another one where you're just like, hey, our end of the bench guy came in, scored 17 points. Like, that's mark of a really good win.
Yeah, look, your end of bench guy isn't going to be the difference maker that team needs. If they really want to take a leap forward in the West this year, they got to make some sort of big trade. But I actually think that would be a little bit short-sighted for them to do, and they should hold off a year because I like Brandon Ingram, as much as I'd like to see a trade happen, would be the answer over there when it comes to it.
And for all your Brandon Ingram trade saga watch episodes, go check out Locked on Pelicans, Locked on Mavs. We're covering a team that wins games.
Christmas Day for Pelicans fans here.
We're covering a team that wins games over here on Locked on Mavs. So check that out. All the other Locked on shows that cover your team every day. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked on NBA Game Night. We'll be back all this week. Thanks so much for listening to Locked on NBA Game Night. Boom!